Welcome back to Whispers of the Unknown, where truth is a fog that drifts between stars and silence. I'm your guide through the strange corridors of human experience, where fear, faith, and fascination blur into one. Tonight, we step back to the early 1960s, to a quiet stretch of road in rural New Hampshire, where a married couple driving home from vacation would become the first in recorded American history to claim something that, until then, belonged only to science fiction. They were ordinary people, but after that night, nothing in their lives, or ours, would ever be ordinary again. So grab yourself a coffee and let's dive in. It was September 19, 1961. The air smelled of pine and damp leaves. Betty and Barney Hill, a couple from Portsmouth, New Hampshire, were driving back from a spontaneous road trip to Niagara Falls and Montreal. They were tired but happy. Betty, a social worker, intelligent, idealistic, with a love for the sky. Barney, a postal worker and veteran, practical, grounded, protective. They were an interracial couple at a time when such unions were still rare and often judged. In many ways, they already lived courageously. But what awaited them that night would test courage on an entirely different scale. At around 10:30 p.m., somewhere near Lancaster, New Hampshire, Betty looked up and noticed something odd. A light, brighter than a star, moving erratically across the sky. At first, she joked it was a shooting star, but then it stopped, hovered, and began descending in their direction. "Barney," she said, pointing through the windshield. "Do you see that?" He glanced up. Yes, maybe a plane. But even as he said it, he knew something was off. It wasn't blinking. It wasn't moving in a straight line. It seemed to be watching them. As they drove along the winding highway through Franconia Notch, the object grew larger. Now, it seemed to follow them, darting behind trees, appearing again between mountains' ridges. Betty, growing uneasy, opened the car window and peered out with binoculars. "It looks like it's spinning," she whispered. "There are lights, like windows." Barney, uneasy, pressed the gas pedal. "Let's not stop," he said. But curiosity and something deeper compelled him to pull over near an open field. He stepped out, binoculars in hand, and for the first time in human history, someone looked directly, through glass, at what might have been visitors from beyond. He saw a large, silent, hovering craft, shaped like a pancake, with windows all around. Inside those windows, figures. Not human silhouettes. Small, gray, watching. And then, as he described later, one of them looked back at him directly, and he felt a message, not through words, but in his mind. "Stay where you are and keep looking." Barney's body tensed. He dropped the binoculars and ran back to the car, shouting, "We have to get out of here! They're going to capture us!" They sped away, terrified. The road twisted through darkness. No streetlights, just the hum of tires and that light above them. Following, darting, vanishing, then appearing again. Then, a strange sensation, a buzzing vibration filled the car. Their bodies tingled. Their consciousness faded. The next thing they knew, they were 35 miles farther down the road. It was nearly dawn. Neither could recall how they got in there. When they finally reached home, something was wrong. Their watches had stopped. The car had shiny circles burned into its trunk. Barney's shoes were scuffed as if he's been dragged. Betty's dress was torn and covered in a strange pink powder that disintegrated when touched. And both of them, though they couldn't explain why, felt the terrifying certainty that something had happened to them in those missing hours. In the days that followed, Betty began having dreams, 5 nights in a row, vivid as waking life. In them, she and Barney were stopped by strange beings who led them into a metallic craft. Their skin was grayish, she said, their heads large, their eyes slanted and black. They communicated without speaking. They examined her. They took samples, skin, hair, even a lock of her pubic hair. And one of them, who seemed to be the leader, showed her a star map made of shining dots connected by thin lines. He told her it represented where they came from. When she asked where that was, he pointed to 2 stars connected by lines and said she wouldn't understand. For 2 years, the Hills tried to move on. They avoided publicity, kept silent, but anxiety haunted their nights. Finally, in 1963, they sought help from Dr. Benjamin Simon, a psychiatrist and expert in hypnosis. Over multiple sessions, both Betty and Barney were separately hypnotized, and their accounts, though given separately, match in chilling detail. Barney described being taken aboard, seeing small, gray beings with cat-like eyes, and being placed on an examination table under a bright circular light. He remembered a device being pressed against his groin. He remembered panic, paralysis, telepathic reassurance. Betty described similar procedures. She recalled being told she would not be harmed. She remembered asking, "Why them?" "It's not you," one being said softly in her mind. "It's your species. You are interesting." Their story remained private until 1965, when a leaked report made headlines. New Hampshire couple claims UFO abduction. It spread across the US. Skeptics mocked them. Ufologists celebrated them. But the Hills, reluctant celebrities, simply wanted answers. Later, Under hypnosis, Betty drew the star map she had seen. Years later, amateur astronomer Marjorie Fish compared the sketch to known star systems and found a shocking correlation. The pattern matched the binary star system Zeta Reticuli, 40 light years from Earth. It was as if the map wasn't random, but a navigational chart of where they came from. The Hill case became a blueprint for every abduction story to come. But what really happened that night? Skeptics argue the Hills suffer from sleep deprivation and stress. They were driving long hours. Betty's dreams may have influenced Barney's hypnotic recall. And hypnosis, while powerful, is notoriously unreliable for retrieving memory. It often produces confabulation. Some researchers believe they may have stumbled upon classified aircraft tests over the White Mountains. In 1961, the U.S. Air Force was developing experimental stealth and radar systems. The buzz-in could have been electromagnetic interference. For some believers, the details are too specific to dismiss. Matching star maps, shared telepathic recollection, and that recurrent phase from Betty's dreams. You're interesting. Was it a random couple or a deliberate study of human diversity? A white woman and a black man in the early 1960s. Symbols of a species learning to overcome its divisions. If you look at it that way, maybe the aliens were studying something beyond biology. Maybe they were observing our evolution of empathy. I see them. Oh God, I can't believe it. Their eyes, they're right there, looking at me. That was part of the Barney's recorded hypnosis voice. They said they would not hurt me. They said they only wanted to learn. That was Betty's soft voice under hypnosis. Dr. Simon's note revealed that neither showed sign of deceit. Both experienced trauma consistent with genuine terror. But he concluded that, to them, the experience was real, regardless of whether it truly happened in physical space. As decades passed, the Hills story became legend. It influenced everything from the X-Files to Close Encounters of the Third Kind. But what makes their story enduring isn't just the claim of alien abduction. It's that they were pioneers in the modern mythology of contact. Ordinary people who looked into the unknown and came back changed. In interviews later in life, Betty said, "People can laugh, but I know what I saw. I know what we experienced, and I believe they were curious, not cruel." Barney, who passed away in 1969, once told a friend, "If they wanted to hurt us, they could have, but they didn't. Maybe that means something." We humans have always looked up and wonder who's looking back. Whether the Hills truly met visitors from beyond, or became symbols of the fears and hopes of a changing era. Their experience reminds us that The unknown is always out there. Sometimes it's within, in the limits of what we're willing to believe, and the courage it takes to say, something happened to me, and I don't understand it. So tonight, as you listen to the wind outside your window, remember, every mystery begins not with proof, but with a story. And every story begins with a whisper. This has been Whispers of the Unknown. Until the next time, keep your eyes open and your soul unafraid of the dark.